Alright, in the last video that I had on this case, I pretty much got the steering fixed. I still left this cover off so then I can see the nut that holds kind of the steering gear together. So far it hasn't been backing itself out, so that's good. I'm going to leave it off a little bit longer so I can drive this thing some more and just make sure that that's not going to fall apart. I have a few other things I need to do on this, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the wheel weights. These things are really cool. I think the guy that I bought this from made these himself. I don't blame him because people charge an arm and a leg for stock wheel weights, so. That's plenty tight. That's what it looks like. So these are 35 pounds a piece, plus the actual cross frame itself, which probably a few pounds, so say 3 pounds a piece. So that means there's 38 pounds on each side, so that's 76 pounds between the two rear wheels. So then I do have the hitch, of course, which so obviously there's mounts, and then I did get this, which I'm assuming that this part here goes on that, and then this other part that has 2 bolts in it. Oh, right there. I think that the plow going up and down is the same setup that raises and lowers the hitch. So I'm gonna hook it up anyway. That way I can actually see what's going on with it. My John Deere 317 is actually that way. If you run the plow, the hitch does, goes up and down too. One of these mounts, this mount here is skinny and this one's not. And there's not as much room on this side, so I'm assuming that this skinny one goes on this side. Alright, I finally got some light in here. Things are starting to go together the way they should. I don't want to cross-thread anything. I really shouldn't be using a switch over to my ratchet. Okay, now I gotta get this stuff figured out. Obviously, if this thing went higher up in the air, it would move this rod closer so I can hook it up to this. I'm just gonna take this thing off. I don't know anything about case stuff. I should be able to get this now. Now I should be able to get it on there. Stick it. Stick it right there. Tighten these bolts down. Alright, good enough. So I got the hitch on there. think everything for the most part is tightened down, all the structural stuff anyway. And I got this rod hooked up to this plate, which right now it's forward a little bit. I can actually move it back, which I probably will. Doing that is gonna let this hitch down just a tiny bit. It is pretty cool how you can hook up a little pull behind wagon or a trailer to that down there, or right there obviously. So like I said, I've never had a case before. Typically, you know, I was just used to like old Sears garden tractors. One thing I noticed about this hitch, like if I put, right now I'm not even putting much weight on it, just my leg, and I'm just pushing a little bit with it. I almost wonder if I'm missing a piece, because that seems really flimsy. On a Sears 3-point hitch, which were basically unique to the garden tractors themselves, it used a really strange style of like 3-point with just a handle. There was no hydraulics or anything, at least on the one I had. But anyway, on the Sears, and that handle was pushed all the way forward, meaning your 3-point arms were lifted up all the way and your implement was in the air. I could get on the back of that hitch with all my body weight and jump on it, and it wouldn't move nothing at all. So just the fact that I'm like, I'm not even putting 50 pounds of weight on this thing right now, and it's flexing, it's moving. So I really wouldn't want to stand on that. I don't want to break this thing, but it just seems kind of flimsy. So I should probably look at some pictures or something, see if I'm missing something, because if I am, I want to make sure I put it on there before, you know, I start putting implements on the back and, you know, putting stress on it. All right, before I forget, I'm gonna put a bolt in this thing, that way this plow can't spring forward. I absolutely hate that. All right, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe now you can. There's a little, right where that light is, there's a little puddle of hydraulic fluid. So I need to figure out what's leaking. I don't know a lot about hydraulics, but I have 2 hoses here that are literally just held on with hose clamps. And so I'm assuming that these are low pressure hoses. And this hose here says 305 PSI. So that's gotta be an indication that it's low pressure, because the ones that, you know, are usually pressed in a crimper or whatever, those are thousands of PSI. So even though these are probably low pressure, something here is leaking. If it was just the hose clamps needing to be tightened, that'd be awesome. They don't look that old, but maybe, you know, they're too dry and they cracked or something, I don't know. So I just gotta figure out what's leaking here. So, okay, well, I'm no expert, but I don't think you should be able to turn a hose like that, even if it's low pressure hydraulic. So I'm gonna go grab a socket and see if I can't tighten that. So I grabbed a few sockets and was just trying them out, and this is going to be an 8mm. When I stuck this on there, I can turn it by hand, so that's not good. Hopefully it's on there pretty much as far as it can go, because there's an elbow, which I'm not really sure how this would have loosened. It still kind of moves. Just go a little bit more. Okay. And then, while I'm over here, might as well fasten more of them down. Even this one here is, even though it's obviously not leaking, it's still kind of loose. Seems like all of them are kind of loose. Now I'm gonna clean these up and then kind of see what happens. I'll run it, get the fluid moving in it, get the fluid hot, see what it does. And if it stops leaking, then great. And if it doesn't, then I'll just go from there. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now isn't really necessary, but I want to put some more zip ties. I don't like how it kind of hangs like that. I don't know why. I just kind of want to make sure that every time I open or shut this hood, it's not gonna rip some wiring out or whatever. So zip ties are the coolest thing ever invented. I use them on everything. The only downside is over time they get dry and then they break, but they hold for a pretty long time. Then you gotta get yourself a set of these. They're like $2.49 or $2.99 at Harbor Freight. They're cheap little cutters that cut really close to things. See how nice and flush that cuts that? And that's not even sharp. Like, you're not gonna cut yourself on that like you usually do on zip ties that you cut. I'm even gonna clean off that tie rod or steering gear or steering rod or whatever this is. Here's a grease point. Might as well, while I'm doing things here, grease it. Here is my new drawer for all my kind of oiling and greasing stuff. So got a little thing of grease if I want to do it by hand. Got this weird looking needle grease coupler thing that I haven't used yet, but it's cool. Might come in handy at some point. Extra grease, more grease fittings, and some oiling stuff. But here's my Bauer grease gun. Here's the grease zert. Like I've said many times before, this Flexzilla 6-tooth grease coupler is awesome. Absolutely love it. Oh yeah. That's pretty good. Now I'll do the other side. I love the smell of grease. I don't know why. I know some people don't like it, but I think it smells awesome. So I got both spindles greased. Underneath I have, as you can see, the steering gear is greased. But whatever this cross section is, I greased that. So now I'm just kind of looking for other places where grease might need to go. Usually where stuff moves. It's hard to see, but there's a grease zert in there, and that is for the part of the front axle that pivots. If I can even get this thing on there. Dang it. So I was just looking at this grease zert. It's kind of hard to get the grease gun on there, so I almost wonder if I couldn't turn this a little bit, which it's probably not easy to get a wrench in there either. All right, as soon as I turn the camera off, I get it figured out. I'll turn it just a little more so I can get the grease gun on there somehow. There. All right, now we'll try to grease it. All right, so it's on there. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to see grease come out. I'm assuming on each side of that pivot. Oh, there it goes. It's pushing some old crap out. That's probably good enough. It's better than the amount of crap it had in it before. Obviously, the axles can be greased inside of the rim. Alright, so I just spent the last 20 minutes trying to put grease into this axle here. I can't get my hose to bend enough to do it. And then I can't seem to get any type of tool on the zert itself to take it out and put an angled one in. And it's driving me crazy. So I'm going to take this wheel off. And I'm going to try to look at it up on my bench. So I had to go get a different bolt. I don't like how loose this thing is, and right now there's just a really skinny carriage bolt on there. I put it on there just so I didn't lose it, but this is not a good bolt to be using on here. So I did have this bolt, which fits in there really, really well. But it obviously wasn't long enough, so I went and got some new ones. I think I got like a 5-inch and a 6-inch, just to see which one's better. Obviously the shorter one is. Oh yeah, way better. But at least I have an extra, so. I also got a locking nut. If you don't use a locking nut, your crap will fall off while you're using it. That's what happened with my Sears tractor all the time. That's good enough. Wow. It's actually really dirty. It hasn't leaked so far, so I guess that's a good sign, but I do need to run it and get hydraulic fluid moving through the system. So that right there does operate at the same time as the plow. I can't do them together. That's running way better than it was. I noticed this thing comes up really close to that coupler right here for the hydraulics, so I wonder if I shouldn't adjust that so then it doesn't go up as high. I do not want that to hit that coupler. There we go. It's a little better. Whatever, I guess that's fine. That'll work. Let's see if this helped at all. Oh yeah, see? Can't go any farther, so it's more distance there. That's way better. That makes me way happier. I don't want that to get hit. I would love to get a tiller for this thing or something that runs on rear hydraulics. I've never had anything like that before. Overall, this is, like I've said, this is one of the best, if not the best, garden tractor I've ever had in my life. So I want to take good care of this thing, and I can't wait to use it on some dirt. Still got quite a bit of winter to go, but looking forward to trying it out. It's running much better too. I think it just sat for a while. I put fresh gas in it and some seafoam, so that's definitely gonna help. This thing is 10 times better than my John Deere 317, so the John Deere 317 is the next thing that's gonna need some work. In fact, I even thought about bringing that over here and taking this back to where my equipment is stored. But anyway, I guess before I end this video, I'm just gonna recap a little bit. I got the wheel weights on, got the sleeve hitch on, cleaned the air cleaner, air filter out, greased a bunch of stuff, fixed the hydraulic leak, locked the plow so that it can't spring forward anymore, ran it a little bit with some fresh gas and seafoam so it's running a little better. That tire, or that rim, I need to put some new threads in there so I can get a grease cert in there, and a grease cert that actually has an angle to it so I can actually get to it with my coupler on my grease gun. Probably put a trickle charger on it, or at least a maintainer. I did buy this microprocessor controlled automatic battery charger. So this isn't really a maintainer, it's actually a charger, but I'll charge the battery every once in a while to try and keep it somewhat healthy, and then this spring it should be, you know, ready to go. Also got a battery tester too, that's pretty cool. But anyway, did a few things to it. It's looking good. I promise here in the future I'll have some videos actually working the thing, since I really haven't used it much. I've been working on it more than I've been actually using it. I know it needed a few things here and there. Alrighty, well, if you haven't already, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.